Right, we're on. So we're looking at the new physics engine that comes with GameMaker. Crash. Okay, so thanks. So where did we leave it? We had this problem where I think pop gets stuck on the bottom, clunk, and does that. Okay, so that's really weird. So in order to fix this, we have to look at some of the physics settings, right? Right now we have physics shut off, right? And then pop, let's see, is the physics shut off? It is there. And then the physics for the room is also shut off. So all that was shut off. If I turn all that on, and we try this again, we're going to turn on the physics. Yeah, on the block, on pop, and give it a try and see what changes. We see everything falls, right? Okay. That's funny. So what we have to do to fix that problem is on the walls, we have to tell it that the density is 0. That makes it static, okay? So change the density to 0, and then we try it again, the walls won't fall off the screen, right? But it's not very bouncy, right? And so what we want is to add some bounciness to pop, okay? So if you go to pop and you say, okay, I want to make them bouncy, how do you say that in GameMaker? Well, you go to the physics for it, and you change the restitution. That's the number that tells you how bouncy it is. And I found a number that kind of works is 1.3. Okay, so try that as its bounciness factor. We are on the pop sprite, and we're just doing the physics. Object pop, yeah, object pop. And let's see if he bounces. Boing, yeah, now he's bouncy. Okay, so that's kind of the behavior we want. But notice how it gets rotational. See right here, you get angular momentum as well because it's actually using the star shape. See that? That's really cool. Do we really want that, though, in our game? And the answer is probably not. It's a little overkill. We're not trying to model physics exactly, but at least we're getting pop to bounce around a bit. We also have to turn something down. It seems like the walls are pretty bouncy, so we've got to shut that down. So let's see, our wall, it's only 0.1, so yeah, I guess it's just pop being really bouncy. Okay, so that's how you get the physics engine to work. And if you're really trying to model physics, you probably do it that way. But the problem is once you start modeling physics that way, moving things around, especially the paddle, gets really hard. You don't use, what we've been using in the past is by setting the direction and setting the speed. That doesn't work anymore. If you do that, GameMaker just ignores it. It only works off this physics model. So because of that, because here, notice that we're setting the direction and the speed. That's for I guess that's for the gravity. We don't need that anymore. So if we take that out, let's see if it still works. So I'm deleting the step event that added the gravity. Oh, we still have the bounce code in there too. Let's leave that there. Well, let's see. What did I do? Yeah, I'm going to take out the step event. But leave the collision event for now. Yeah, so I'm deleting that whole step event. And what we'll find out is nothing really changed, or at least that's what I'm hoping. It still bounces. It's all the same. Because once you turn on physics, that's a different world. All these old ways of doing things kind of go away. Okay, so if I comment this out, say I'm not bouncing anymore, notice that doesn't make any difference. You figure that would make it stop bouncing, but it still bounces the same. Okay, it's because it's ignoring all the old physics and it's using the new physics engine. All right. So after much thought and Discussion with myself, I guess. Yeah, question, Patrick.
Pop is not moving at all.
Yeah, so you got to make sure that you turn on the room physics.
Yeah, it's on.
Room physics.
And then Pop's physics needs to be turned on as well. Here, uses physics. And then object wall also has to have uses physics. But I've decided that we're going to just do it the old way. We're not going to do it this new way, okay? Because it's just, there's so much, it's great, but it's also really complex. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it the old way. And so what that means is we're going to disable physics, and we're going to manage it ourselves, because that's going to be more straightforward. This is supposed to be a simple game, not some physics modeling. So I'm shutting off uses physics for all of our objects. So shut all that off. It's sad to see it go, yeah, but it's cool. It's cool to kind of play around with it. And then here, we do want to, when we collide with the wall, we do want to call move bounce solid. The walls are solid, so when we collide with the wall, we want it to bounce off of it. Now with this code, if we try it, what do we get? Let's see. No movement, okay? So what's the problem here? There's no gravity, right? I was reading this book on anti-gravity. Did I tell this joke yesterday? No. Yeah, I just can't put it down. Ugh, terrible joke. Eh. They're terrible, though. Okay.
Bad jokes are meant to be terrible.
Yeah, they are.
Bad
They're
jokes are meant to be terrible, and that's why they make the morning more tolerable.
Did you hear the Energizer bunny got arrested? Yeah, he was charged. Yeah, he was charged with battery. Horrible jokes. Okay, enough of the jokes. Let's look at what we have to do to add gravity to the game. Well, surprisingly, we're in Pop, right? We can do that in the create event. So make a create event for Pop if you haven't already. So go add event, create. So when Pop gets created, what do we want to do? Well, let's type in gravity here. And there's a few gravity functions available. Set gravity direction, set gravity force. So here we'll set the force, and the force I like to use here is 0.2, I think. Yeah, that might be, well, what is it? I don't know. We'll try this. And then set the gravity direction. Now typically, at least on Earth, gravity is downward, okay? So you would say 270. Remember, our directions, 0 is to the right, 90 straight up, 180 is to the left, 270 straight down. It's not relative, neither one. And then, now that we've added gravity to our object, we're not using the gravity that's in the room anymore. We're adding gravity directly to our object. Now we should get that. Ooh. See how fast it fell? That's a little too much gravity. See how Pop is bouncing a little higher every time? Just spinning?
Like it goes, when he goes up, it goes a bit fast. When it goes down, it goes a bit fast as well.
Yeah, okay, so we're not using bounciness or anything. All we're doing is, why is it getting more energy? In the real world, it wouldn't do that. So let's try 0.1. Yeah. What was that? Okay, you got it. Okay, so here 0.1 seems about right. Okay. But still, it seems to be bouncing a little higher each time, which I don't get. But yeah, question. Not bouncing at all. So in your collision event, so if yours isn't bouncing, the things I would check would be looking at object Pop, look at the collision event with the wall, and make sure you execute this code. Move, bounce, solid. Okay, so did in the create event for Pop here, we've got to add gravity and gravity direction, those two. Okay. Yeah, question. Yeah, that's fine. You'll just miss all this, what we're talking about. It's better to wait until after the lectures. But okay, so we've got pop moving. We've got gravity finally working correctly. Seems to be bouncing correctly off things. Let's get pop started in the right direction. We don't want pop to be falling or even stationary when he starts. We want to actually shoot pop up in the air when he starts. So here in our create event, we want to set a direction. We'll just say move here. And we're going to use this one. We don't use this one very often, but set direction variable, this one here. Okay? We set the gravity, and then we want pop to kind of start flying upwards rather than downwards. And so say we want the direction to be somewhere between 60 and 120 degrees. Okay, 60 would be kind of off to the right, 90 straight up, 120 is a little bit off to the left. But we want to do this randomly. Okay, so we would say this. We would say random. Yeah, we're going to have to seed the random number generator as well. So you would say random 60. So I'll pick a number between 1 and 60. But again, our range is between 60 and 120 that we want. So we add 60 to that, and that'll give us random numbers between 60 and 120. I put a space there just to make it easier to read. Okay, and so now we also have to set a speed, an initial speed for, and I found that, what's the speed I kind of liked? I think 12's too much. I think it's, I'd say 5. That's 5 pixels per frame. Remember, we're going at 60 frames per minute. I used to do this game with 30 frames per minute, and so I'd say 15, or 12 actually. So I've got about a little bit half of that. And let's see how he just kind of shoots up in the air. But note which way Pop went when he started. Yeah, always goes the same way. So we have to seed our random number generator. So how do we do that? Well, we could do this. Yeah. Top. Okay. Yeah. So what do you set your gravity to? 0.1. Yeah. So probably you just need more gravity. But we'll have to play around with these numbers. Yeah. Still won't move. Okay. I'll come over. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not very, very random. So what we could do is that we don't have a controller in this game, right? Do we need one? We could. Well, yeah. See. Yeah, we need a way to initialize this at the game start, but we have to have an object to associate that with. We can't really use pop because of problems later, so we could use the wall, but that'd be silly because there's a million walls. So, yeah, we need a controller. Oh, that thing, Katch. Yeah, Katch. We could use Katch, but we don't have Katch yet. So maybe we'll add that to Katch when we add Katch. Okay, so we'll wait on that. Okay, so but at least it's kind of shooting it up in the air to start with. All right. So now we should have a moving pop monster. Next, we have to work on our paddle character. So if you go here to sprites and say right-click, you would say create sprite. And this time we're going to import the Katch one. And Katch this is out in our shared folder, but Katch is right here. Don't do the small one, do the big one. Okay. And Katch doesn't move around very much, but it is an animated character. All that really wiggles is his little tentacles. I think he's a squid thing. I don't know, maybe a sea slug or something. So here we say edit image. We've got to take away that background color. So again, select this first frame. Just click on it. And then go to the end and hold down the Shift key and select the last frame. And now everything you do to one will happen to all of them. And so we're removing this color. Pink. That way you don't have to do them individually. Okay. Yeah, hermit crab maybe. It's not animating, right? And the reason why it's not is because we didn't set the frame rate. So I'd set that to 15. And then we'll call this Sprite Katch with a K. I'll use a lowercase k though. And then the other thing you have to do, and this is super duper important, is we've got to move the origin to the middle. And you'll see later why that's important, but not the middle of the whole thing, but the top center. It needs to be right there. Okay. So make sure to put that in the center of.
Oh, so it moves properly like
Yeah, because we're going to use that middle point to decide which way to make the ball bounce. Okay. How big is that angle going to be? And we have to have. You want to double check this not only on the Pop Sprite or on the Katch Sprite, but also on the Pop Sprite. Ooh, we didn't do that either. See, Pop's origin is up here on the left. We have to have that actually in the middle. So this would be middle center. Okay. So choose that one. That's really important. Yeah. Select all of them. Yeah. So what I did again was I went into Edit Image, and then I selected here, and then I clicked on that box, and then I moved the slider, and then hold down the Shift key and click there. And that will select all of them. Okay. Okay, so we have our sprite sorted out. Let's make our object now. So we're going to right-click here and say Create Object. And this time we're creating the Katch object, which is our paddle. Object Katch. And we'll use our Katch sprite. And what's weird about this is we're going to make him solid. Even though he moves around, we're going to make it solid because we want Pop to bounce off him. So, all right. So now we have Katch character. Where do we put it in the game? Well, let's see. We go to our room then, and I would put it here at the bottom, right about here. Well, maybe one row higher, right there, just so you can see his little tentacles. And kind of put it in the middle, I guess. Okay? And then maybe Pop put him in the middle as well. So that's our. I would start Pop a little bit lower, because eventually we're going to have tiles up here and things to hit and stuff. So maybe start a little bit lower. Okay, so that's our starting position. While we're in here in the room, we might as well set our background as well. So let's create our background sprite. So we say Create Sprite. And this is our background. So we're going to import. Now you have a couple choices. They look very similar. I'm going to go with background 1, but you can choose background 2 if you like. Note that when we choose the background, the size of the background is 640 by 480. If we go and edit it, yeah, there it is, 640 by 480. Our room size isn't that size, though, right? Our room size, we said 800 by 600. Oops. Okay, so, yeah, so what I'm thinking on the sprite, we'll just call this sprite background, sprite underscore background. And then when we add it to our room, what you can do is if we go to the background layer, here's our background layer. Remember, we don't put it on the instance layer. We put it on the background layer. And then it says which sprite do we want to use. We'll say that new one we just made. But then we can stretch it. See, right now it's too small. So what you can do is stretch it, and now it fills up the room. Just go to the background layer, choose the sprite we just created, and say stretch. Okay. So we have our background. Now it's kind of looking like a game. Okay. And then maybe, if we go back to our instances layer, we want to take out that bottom row.
Are you keeping the room size at 800 by 6?
Yeah, we decided we'd just stretch it. So, because pop needs to be able to fall outside the room. That's how you lose a life, is when pop falls out of the room. Okay. So now we have a good start to the game. Let's try it and see what happens. It's not much of a game yet. Pop goes up. Katch can't move because we haven't told it how to. And then pop falls off the screen.
Not for me.
Well, did you take the bottom wall out? You have to take the bottom wall out. See, I took the bottom wall out. So,
I think that.
yeah. All right, so now it's going to be a lot harder to keep Pop in the room because we have to move Katch around. What we can do, we can look at Pop's current position here. I wish it would tell us. Yeah. Looks like Pop's position is 400, like 400, 400, something like that. So we could say this. When object pop, we go to object pop, and we can add this event. We can say other outside room, and then what we can do is we can say destroy self, because we want to get rid of pops that have fallen out of the room. But also we want to create a new pop in a room. So we're going to work on this later to add some more features. But here we would say create. And here you would say create pop. Here we're going to use an absolute position 400 by 400. And we've got to make sure it's on the instances layer. Yeah, Trent. Question? For which event? Oh, this here. This is in when pop falls outside the room. So we're pop, and it's the outside room event. So if you go to add event, outside room, other outside room. So when pop leaves the room, we want to destroy this pop, and we want to create a new one up at the where he started. So let's see if that works. Yeah, you don't want to click relative. See it's kind of random which way he goes, a little bit. Okay? But now we got to get pop to bounce off of Katch. Right? So let's do that. It's pretty straightforward. We'll just do the same thing we did with wall, let's say, to start with. So what does wall do? It executes this code, right? So let's do that same thing. We'll add an event here. And it's a collision event with object Katch this time. So when pop collides with Katch, so we're object pop colliding with Katch, what do? Well, we execute code again. So we say maybe code. And you drag this on. Of course, it doesn't put it in a place where you can actually edit anything. But what you want to do is you want to say, let me zoom in a bit so you can see it. You want to say move, bounce. See this one? Move, bounce, solid.
What event is it?
It's collision event with between object pop and object Katch. Semicolon, right? Okay, so let's see if that works. We're going to just let it run until we just randomly hit pop or hit catch. Let's see if it bounces off of them. We can't move them yet because we haven't put any movement controls. How long will we have to wait? This one. Here we go. Boing. Yeah, that worked. Yeah. Okay, so now we have to say, okay, it'd be nice if we could move catch around, right? So let's do that next. So now we're in object catch, right? Object catch doesn't have any events yet. So we're going to add some keyboard events. Now again, you can choose which keys you want, but the ones I'm using, first I'm saying key down event. We do want to use key down. I'm going to use the left arrow, but you can use A if you want. So left arrow. Well, what do we want it to do? Well, I'm thinking so we'll say move and move fixed because we're going to go to the left, right? It's the left arrow. And then we have to set a speed. Now you always have to be careful with speeds and collisions and stuff. You want it to divide evenly into your grid size, and our grid size is 20 by 20. So I would say set the speed to 10. 5 is a little too slow. I tried 5 last night, and the ball or pop moves faster. This is how fast you can move left and right. So if it's too slow, you're not going to be able to catch up with the ball. You can try it. I mean, that's a little too fast, but notice that 15 doesn't divide evenly into 20. So you might have some problems when you get to the edge of the screen, but we'll see. So if I run it now and I hit the left key, I shoot off the screen. Okay. So a lot of people at this point will say, okay, I have to do a collision event between catch and the wall and get it to stop. That's not how you do it. A better way to do it would be just figure out where the paddle is and make sure it doesn't go any further left. So in order for this to work, you have to have one other event, and that's the no key event. So this is kind of a weird event, but you would say key down, no key. When they're not pressing a key, we just want to stop. Okay? So we set the speed to 0. Okay? So that way when we lift up from our left key, it'll stop moving. See that? I'm playing actually. But see how I'm able to move outside the room? That's a bad thing, okay? So how do you stop it from moving outside the room? Well, let's go back to our left key. We only want to do these things if we're not already on the left side of the room, up against the wall. Remember that the walls are 20 by 20, so you're 20 pixels in, but also remember that if you look at our catch sprite, notice that our origin's in the center. This sprite is 80 pixels wide, and so it places this based on, if you ask it where it is, its x-coordinate is based on the middle of the sprite, not on the left corner of the sprite. So because of that, you have to factor that in when you're moving catch. So you would say here, we need to add an if statement. We only want to let them move to the left if they're not already on the left side of the screen. So we ask this question. We say if variable. Well, what variable? And the variable we're concerned about is the x variable. What's the x coordinate? And we're trying to see if it's greater than, well, we know the block's width is 20, so we'd say 20. But we also know that catch's origin is 40 pixels into catch, not the top left corner. So we have to add 40 here. Now you could actually put 60 here, but I like doing it like this so you can see what I'm thinking. Okay. 20 for the width of the wall, and then 40 for the half of the width of the catch thing. But then you only want to do these two things based on whether this is true. So make sure to drag these up to the right. Hitch this one to the bottom. Okay, so make sure it's like that. Yeah, Ollie, what's up?
Yeah, I got a little issue.
Got what?
I got a little issue here.
Issue. Yeah. When you get down below, that's why I said let them fall outside the room. If you have a wall on the bottom, then that's not going to work. Collision event. Okay, let's see what happens here.
Yeah, my collision event makes it so it just stops it.
Yeah, I can't move either. Well, I was able to move. What did I say here? I said if x is greater than 20 plus 40, so it's greater than 60, then move to the left by a speed of 10. But if it's less than, oh, we forgot to say that. We forgot to say the else part. We got to say else. Otherwise, so drag this else on the bottom here. Otherwise, we want to stop moving, right? So that one is set speed. Drag it to the right here, not underneath, but off to the right of the else, so it's controlled by the else. And just set the speed to 0. That'll stop it from moving. Okay. So again, it's x greater than 20 plus 40, not less than. And then say left, our speed is 10. But otherwise, if it's equal to or less than 60, then you don't want it to go to the left anymore. You want to stop it from moving. So let me try it now. It's similar. It's not the same. So yeah, I can't move to the left anymore. Okay, and it keeps me in the room, and the sprites aren't overlapping. Okay.
I just crashed.
You just crashed. Okay. So again, let's look at that code. X, not checked, greater than 20 plus 40. We're in the collision event between Katch and, or no, it's not collision event. It's the left key event. And then make sure these are connected this way to the right of the if statement. You move left at a speed of 10. Otherwise, you don't move at all. You set the direction, or you set the speed to 0. So that's what you're supposed to have there. I'll come around and debug people once we get done with the right side. Okay, so now we just need to do the right side so that we can play the game, but let's look at that right side. We can duplicate this event if you want. Just say duplicate event. It asks us what event we want to do. Well, we already have left, so I'm going to go right this time. And then we'll just change what we need to change. So one thing we need to change is we're going to the right, not to the left. We still want to go at speed of 10. We still want to stop in case we're too close to the wall. But this time, though, the coordinates are, the equation is a little bit different. We're trying to see if we're on the right side of the room. So it's still our x coordinate, but now we want to see if it's less than the room width minus 20 minus 40. Okay? Because we have to say, okay, the furthest Katch should go to the right. We have to take into account the width of the wall, and then the half of the, remember the Katch sprite has the origin in the middle, so we have to take away half of Katch's width. Okay? And make sure you say room width. Okay, so now, but notice I can't affect which way pop flies. No matter where it hits on the paddle, it's always the same angle over and over again. See that? Doesn't matter where I hit it on the paddle. I could hit it on the edge, right on the edge, like there, or maybe there. Doesn't matter. It's always going to do the same bounce, same angle, Not a very fun game. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, when I spin it, he just shifts, he moves.
Yeah, so I'll come around and help people here in a second. Like I said, if you've made some mistakes, that's okay. I'll come around and help. But I want to finish this up first. Okay, so this is really lame, right? That's really lame. So what you want to do is you want to make the angle that pop bounces off the paddle to be dependent upon where pop hits the paddle. Remember when we were talking yesterday, we want it to bounce like Katch had a dome on it, right? Like a half circle. If it hits it on the middle of the half circle, it goes straight up. If it hits on the edge of it, it should bounce down. Okay, so we're going to have to control that. See, there's some glitches there too. See that? If I trap it here in the wall, if I hit it right on the edge, it glitches out sometimes. It's hard to recreate. Yeah, so we need some variability there as well. Question?
Can you help me with this? I'm only crashing on the B key, but I'm not moving the PA key.
Yeah, like I said, I'll answer your questions when I get done talking. Yeah, everybody's crashing. I know I did it. I said it right, and I've showed you it right because it's working for me. So you must have missed something. But let's finish this last part, and then I'll come around and help fix folks. Okay, so the last part is we really want to control what happens when pop hits Katch. Okay. So how do we do that? I would do it from the point of view of pop. Okay. So we'll go to pop, because in every collision you can choose which side you're talking about. So pop colliding with Katch, this doesn't work. Okay. Because there's no way you can control the direction of pop. So what do we do? Instead of move bounce solid, we're going to do some fancy stuff. So go ahead and delete this execute code. Okay. So this is, again, pop's collision with Katch. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, we're going to set a direction, I guess. So we'll say move. And choose this second one, set direction variable. And what we want is the range to be between, yeah, this is where it gets kind of dicey. What we're trying to figure out is the difference between pop's x and Katch's x. And based on that difference, we want to make the angle either more acute or more obtuse based on the difference between Katch's x and pop's x. So you'd say this. You would say Katch dot, or object Katch, sorry. So there's object Katch dot x. Okay. And we want to subtract off pop's x. Okay. So we're inside a pop, so we can just say x. We don't have to say. So we say Katch's x. We're trying to see the difference between where Katch is and where pop is. We know that they collided, so we know that they're somewhat next to each other, but we have to find out that difference. And so you'll get a difference maybe of either positive 40, because that's one side, or negative 40. So you have this range between negative 40 and positive 40. But the angles we want are actually between between 50 and 130. So here we have to add 90. So say that difference is negative 40, you'll get 50 on the right side. And if it's positive 40, you'll get 120. Okay, so this isn't random, but just this is all based on that difference between where Katch is horizontally and where pop is horizontally. So we set the direction. I think that's all we need to do. We don't mess with the speed here. So now watch what happens. I can now make pop go at an acute angle, but the most I can do is 50 and 120 degrees. See, if it hits in the middle, it goes straight up. If it hits on the right side, it goes to the right. If it hits, see there? Oop. Boink. So now I can kind of control where pop is bouncing based on that difference between pop's x coordinate. And now the game gets a lot more interesting, right? Okay. I'm trying to get pop to go straight up. It has to hit in the middle of pop, or in catch. Oops. So our speed of 10 allows us, see, that's the problem right there. What's going on there? See how it got stuck for a second? Okay. So our problem there is our shape for catch, or for pop. So if we go to Sprite pop, here the collision mask, you said automatic rectangle. We don't want that. We want an ellipse. It says slow. And we want it just as big as pop is, but I think we'll go with that. Make them kind of a ball shape. Okay. Question?
Could I see the bounce code for Catch again?
Yeah, so if we go back to Catch, there is no bounce code in Catch, but there is bounce code in pop, or pop here. Bouncing off Catch. All we're doing is object catch, object underscore catch dot x minus x plus 90. Okay. Now, if you called object catch something different, then yeah, this is not going to work.
Did we get rid of execute though?
Yeah, you delete that. Okay, so let's try the bouncing now and see. I'm still not too pleased with the numbers yet on the gravity and all that, but we'll. And what I'm trying to see is that if a little bit of energy is being transferred to pop each time, because pop needs to get higher to get, say, that back row of tiles. And if pop never gets higher, then those are going to be impossible to get to. Ooh, boy, it's hard. The speed of 10 makes the game relatively easy. 5 is too slow, though. Pop is getting a little higher each time, so it's going to take a while to get up very high. If you want to add a little bit of energy each time, what you could do here in the collision event is you could say here, and this is what I normally do, whatever direction pop is going, it doesn't matter which direction, just add a little bit to speed, 0.1 relative. So every time that pop hits catch, it's going to give pop, we want to give pop. Are we in pop or are we in catch? We are in pop. Yeah, I give pop an extra little oomph each time it hits the paddle. So set the speed to 0.1 relative. And now when you play the game, each time pop hits the paddle, gets a little, just a tiny bit of extra energy. And then that'll allow it to go higher and higher each time. Yeah, that's about right. Okay? Yeah, so you can see that pop is getting higher and higher each time. And that's what you want. To get to that back row, you want to give it a little energy. But the game gets harder as you play it because pop moves faster. Okay? Yeah, I'm almost up to the top now. Okay? All right, so I'm going to stop here, and then I'll come around and answer questions, and then we'll talk about the next part maybe. Or it's probably enough for today, but we'll call it good. All right, so we have pop, being created in the middle of the screen, but we have to give some time for the player to get the paddle repositioned. Say pop goes off the screen, I maybe can't get over there in time. So what I like to do is create this stationary pop that kind of stays there for a couple seconds before it starts up, and then it changes itself into a regular pop. So we're going to create that pop, and we're going to call this object pop start. So object or obj underscore pop underscore start. And we'll just use our pop sprite. It'll animate, but it's not going to move, right? And all we want this to do is turn itself into a regular pop, one that actually moves. So after a certain amount of time. So in its create event, we're going to use that alarm feature, where we can set an alarm. So we're at a create event, and in that create event for object pop start, we're going to set an alarm. So let's type alarm here.
What event is it?
This is called an alarm.
What event are you on?
The create event, yeah. And we want to set the alarm. It's a countdown. Remember, this alarms are like a kitchen timer. It counts down until the bell rings, right? So here's alarm 0. We're going to count down. This is it used to be in milliseconds, but I think it's in seconds now. So we're going to say 2. So we want to set it for 2 seconds. And then, you set the alarm, but there's another part to this, right? You have to figure out what you're going to do when the alarm goes off. So that's over here as an event. You say add event, and then we say, we want to do an alarm event, see? And we say alarm 0. That's the alarm. We have 11 or 10 or 12 different alarms we can use. We use alarm 0. What happens when that game goes off? We want to switch objects. So we say instance change, this one. We want to change our self. So make sure that's set to self, it is. And we want to change it to a regular pop. And it'll just swap the 2 objects out. It will also call the create event on object pop, I think. Okay, so to test this, though, what we have to do is we've got to replace pop in the room. So take pop out. Pop is gone. 2. I'm going to take pop out, and we're going to put in the starting pop instead. They look the same, right? Make sure you're on the instances layer. But put pop right there. Now, object pop start will create itself, set the alarm for 2 seconds, should wait, and then turn itself into a regular pop, and then it should start moving. So let's try that, see if that works. Didn't work, okay? Yeah, so the time, I was thinking it was in seconds, but it's not. It's in milliseconds. Yeah, so when we set the alarm in the create event, evidently that is milliseconds. I wasn't sure. So if we want 2 seconds, remember how many milliseconds are in a second? Well, a lot of people think it's a million because it's a millisecond, right? No, a mil in Latin means 1,000, right? Milla. So you want to say 2,000 if you want 2 seconds, okay? Let's try that. So I should wait. See, it waits and then goes. 2,000, that's too much. That's longer than 2 seconds. So it's not in milliseconds. Doesn't seem to be seconds. What's it in? I think it's in frames. Okay, so if we're going 60 frames per second, that's 120. 120. So we're going 60 frames per second. Hopefully that's 2 seconds. Let's try that. To go. Yeah, there it goes. But notice when he restarts, we make the wrong kind of pop when he falls outside the room. We remember the whole point is to give the player time to manage that. Okay, so when pop falls out of the room, so we go back to object pop. So we're back in object pop, and we're in outside room event. We don't want to create a pop. We want to create a pop start. This one. Eventually, we'll take a life away as well, but right now we don't have lives. So it's here, pop falls out of the room, and then it creates another stationary pop. And so Pop falls out of the room. Now it gives me some time to get my paddle back to the middle so that the game can start. So it's just being a little bit fair to the player. Because if you're way over here and Pop's over there and all of a sudden it started moving right away, you don't have a time to get your paddle back to the middle. Okay? So anyway, that's... Ooh, see, that shouldn't happen. See right there where it got stuck? That's not supposed to happen. So we have a couple glitches we're going to have to... The way I coded it, it's not supposed to hit the paddle and go down. It should, if it hits the paddle anywhere, it should always go up, not down, because of the way I set the angles. Collision with the wall.
No, I actually don't think it's that. I think it's the collision mask with.
Yeah, I turned Pop. See, that's too shallow of an angle.
Like with Katch, I think it might be like something to do with that because
Yeah.
it's over here kind of catches on.
Yeah, let's take a look at the collision mask. Yeah, question.
When Pop bounces off the paddle, it only bounces right. Or something right at the edge.
Okay, so let's check our collision event then with Katch. Here's Pop's collision event with Katch. We're using this equation, object underscore catch dot x minus x plus 90. That seems, I'm trying to keep the angle still going up. So if it hits Katch anywhere, if they collide at all, it's always going to go up and not at a very steep angle.
Mine only bounces right.
Do you have this equation?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have it in the right object? Object Pop collides with Katch?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would mean then that you didn't set your origins on both the Sprite Pop. If you didn't say middle center here, and if you didn't say top center here, then it's not going to work. Okay, those have to be centered. If those aren't centered, this equation is not going to work.
That like mostly fixes the freezing whenever it like
Yeah.
applies to the side and that's if you do the precision thing.
Yeah, we could do precise collision checking, but yeah, because what I'm saying here is if Pop hits right here on this pixel, right here, it still should go up. Even if it hits the side over here, they're colliding. If it's here, what will happen? Yeah, I think what's happening is if they collide here, the collision mask is set that x is going to be way out here for Pop. Katch's x is going to be here, so you're going to get numbers that are greater than 40. That's bad, because that means that our angles are going to be much steeper. So I'll have to work on this puzzle. Because what we want is if it hits anywhere, anywhere over here, we still want it to go up at most 50 degrees. But right now it could probably hit here and kind of shoot off to the right at that angle. And there's no way you can get underneath that. So, yeah, so I have some thinking to do on this equation. The equation that's not working out is the collision event with Katch's equation. Here's Pop. This equation here. That's not working out. It'll work if the difference between the two x's is never going to be greater than 40, but I'm seeing that it's if it hits the side of Katch, then it could be greater than 40 or less than 40 even. Yeah, so I'm not sure how to solve that. So I'll think about that for next time. All right, that's probably enough for today. Thank you, everyone, for paying attention. I appreciate it.